Welcome to the Joy of Sunflowers podcast. We release podcasts here, in part and in full, on the Joy of Sunflowers website. The Joy of Sunflowers podcast is about sisterhood through infertility and pregnancy loss. We cover a range of topics including fertility, pregnancy after loss, and so much more. I speak with a range of people, including wellness professionals, medical experts, and beautiful mamas. The aim of this podcast is to bring you information and experiences that will validate and equip you for whatever season you find yourself in right now. Hi, Britt. Welcome to the event. Thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself a little bit more.
Hey, it's so good to see you. My name's Britt. I am from the U.S. I am a United States Army veteran. I've been suffering from infertility for over 10 years now. When I was 17, I actually joined the Army and was deployed to Baghdad, Iraq for a year. There, I was exposed to environmental toxins in burn pits. And when I got back, I was diagnosed with severe PTSD, stage 4 endometriosis, and diminished ovarian reserve. It took a little bit to get that endometriosis diagnosis, but it was unexplained infertility. And then after my surgery, it ended up being stage 4 endo. And that's kind of where my journey has begun with all the infertility.
Yeah. It's a big journey. So with your deployment, did you know the risks in terms of the toxins?
No. So the burn pits, they didn't really start talking about those until a few years after I got back. Now it's a really big thing. They're passing legislation in Congress for us. People are coming down with cancer, infertility, miscarriages, all from just being around those burn pits. And I was actually I was there every day with them. That was my job. So no, I had no idea what I was being exposed to at the time. And I was only 18. So it was all new.
Oh, it's crazy. And this happens in society a lot, like where there's these things and they're like, oh yeah, it's fine. And then it's not. And then
just like our food and cosmetics, all these things, we just have no idea what it does to our health and hormones and fertility.
And has this opened up a sort of new sort of world of natural living and all that sort of stuff for you?
Oh, big time. I have eliminated, plastic completely. Any cleaning products, it's just vinegar and essential oils, no fingernail polish. Pretty much all organic diet. Any food coloring, anything, I don't even want to go near it. Receipts. It's definitely made me very aware of how many toxins we're surrounded with every day.
Yeah. And how they sort of say, oh yeah, it's safe. And then
it's safe. No, it's not.
Yeah, it changes 20 odd years later after, all the people have started coming down with diseases.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, I've been researching myself and yes, found the same thing. But I actually started researching before I just as I was getting pregnant this time, and I was like, wow.
Oh wow! Who would have thought, right? Right. Who would have thought our plastic water bottles would be so dangerous?
Yeah. And yes, I clean with vinegar too. Not essential too much, except for eucalyptus, because eucalyptus is amazing. It just cleans everything.
Frankincense.
Natural bleach.
Yep.
Bleach itself is not.
Not good. No bleach. No bleach in my house.
Yeah. No, I freaked out the other day. My son ate glue, and I was just like, that's not good.
Not good for you. And
I can't get natural glue, or I'm sure I could. I just haven't had the chance to look into it yet. And I was like,
edible glue.
Bless him, he had such a bad tummy ache. I'm just gonna do it again. That's good.
He learned his lesson.
Oh yeah. Gosh, it's bad. But the world is crazy. So when you got back, how long was it between you sort of, not being quite well and then finding out your actual diagnosis?
Right. When I got back from Iraq, I immediately started with my ex to try to conceive, and we went a year and it was nothing. And that's kind of where my fertility journey started, was about a year after I got back. And they couldn't figure out what was wrong, so they said unexplained infertility, which is kind of a frustrating category to be in at the time. And I had really bad periods and everything and cramping and bleeding, but I just thought that was normal. I didn't even know what endometriosis was. And then finally I got sent to a fertility doctor, and that's when she said, let's do the surgery. And they opened me up, and there was endometriosis on my bowels, everywhere. It was pretty much eating me inside out. Yeah. And then the diminished ovarian reserve, I found that out this year, but I kind of figured with the endometriosis, it was going to go hand in hand with that. So, yeah.
And is there treatments for that? Like, are there ways to kind of help?
Kind of, not really. Like diet, supplements help. But they say you can't grow back your eggs. You can improve quality. I actually this summer did a thing called DuoStim with IVF. It's kind of a new thing. A lot of clinics don't do it. I had to travel out of the state to get it done. So it's 2 IVF cycles, like immediately back to back. Like there's no break. You do your first, and then you have your 5-day break, and then you immediately go into that second one. And what's that supposed to do is that second cycle, you normally get double your eggs retrieved. And that's what happened with me. I only had 5 eggs the first cycle, immediately went into that second cycle, and I had 9 retrieved. So it is like a really good treatment program that a lot of people don't know about for diminished ovarian reserve.
Yeah, I spoke to a lady yesterday, and she said she coupled her like that kind of like reserving and like taking eggs, the retrievals. She coupled it, like the treatments, with Lexi pen or something that ups the progesterone, I think she said it was.
Interesting.
I can double check it and let you know.
Yeah.
But she said that gave her like double the eggs. She ended up with like 8, and she has
wow
as well.
Yeah, because there's so many treatments that are out there that either clinics just don't know about, and it's really just word of mouth of finding.
Well, she actually said it to her doctor. She was like, hey, this isn't really going very well. Do you think this adding this to the protocol would work? And he was just like, well, I mean,
you have to advocate.
Hurt,
Yeah. You have to advocate.
Like, okay. And yeah, she got like 18. And
of course,
from her story, it was like, wow, that's amazing. And she actually got usable embryos in the end. And that
amazing.
Amazing. So I was like, that's so good. That's so great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I'll send you. I'll be editing it soon anyway. So I'll just send you what she said, because I can't the exact like thing, but it was like a specific like pill type thing. So you'll be getting injections. Pills, but she was like,
I would love to know. Yeah, that's amazing. I definitely want to know what she's on.
Yeah, she's not doing it anymore, I don't think, because she's already, I think she's pregnant now. So
good.
Yeah, where I'm praying for her. She's
yes,
the 25 weeks. Yeah,
good. She's fine.
But I will send you that information.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's I like, it's so complicated. You have to kind of become like a
doctor. Yeah.
It's just,
you do.
Yeah. Have you spent a lot of time Googling to sort of work everything out so that you can advocate for yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a nurse, and I'm a labor delivery neonatal nurse. So I was kind of always around fertility and babies and all that. So I do have a really good knowledge. And then I read the book, It Starts with an Egg, which that's what like really sparked me into like the environmental stuff and learning all that. But yeah, Google's hit or miss, but definitely like research and Facebook, the IVF Facebook support groups have been amazing, because it's just so many of us and all in the same boat throwing these ideas and at the
sharing,
wall.
The sharing,
the stories and I love those books.
It's the worst community to be a part of, because you don't want to actually be a part of it, but it's
right. But the sisterhood in it is it's amazing. Yeah,
and everyone just wants to share knowledge and like help each other, and
the best, and we all want the best for each other.
And we're just like praying for each other's babies.
It's a beautiful community. It's sad, but it's bittersweet, I guess, is the proper word.
I've even had people who aren't Christian. They're like, "Oh, I'm not Christian, but I'll pray for you." And
Thank
I'm
you.
like,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
so beautiful. It sucks, but it's beautiful.
Yeah,
I'd rather not be in the club.
right. I don't like this club.
Um,
I'll stay in it, I guess.
yeah. So, how is the like? What's the experience been like? Obviously, coming back, like that must have been really odd. And like, did you have a difference between the periods before you went and after you went? And sort of how?
Yeah, so before I went in high school and stuff, my periods were light, on time. Everything was good to go. No issue. Before the army, everything was good in my life. And then after the army, I was a completely different person and my body was a completely different. It wasn't my body. I mean, yeah, my periods were not on time. They were heavy, very painful. So you could definitely tell that Iraq did something to me.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that happened. That's
Yeah.
so heavy.
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like in my mind, I'm just like, I could never do an army thing. Like, I think it's amazing that you even wanting to do that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, it's insane. I'm sure
Yeah.
you're not the only person going through this. Or the
No, there's been multiple women in my unit that's suffered miscarriages, infertility, hysterectomies. I've lost a couple battle buddies to cancer, uterine cancer, brain cancer. So things are starting, people I've deployed and served with in war are starting to lose them, and it's really heartbreaking. I run into so many women veterans who are like, I'm infertile. I've had 6 miscarriages. Just heartbreaking things. I've given up. So
Mm.
yeah, definitely taking her toll for
Yeah.
sure. That war. So,
How's the womb? Like, how's your womb? Is it
they say the inside of my uterus is good. It's
okay?
just like everything else. I only have one fallopian tube because of my ectopic pregnancies, and then that tube is scarred up from the endometriosis and all that. So it's all on the outside. But they say my womb is good. It's just getting a good quality embryo in there is the issue.
Yeah. So let's go into your sort of IVF journey then.
Mhm.
Like where did you sort of start? When did you sort of decide that, yeah, this is what I'm going to do?
So in 2019, I did an IUI with natural conception, and I actually became pregnant with triplets. Um, yeah, but they ended up being in the wrong places. One was in my abdomen, and two were in my fallopian tube, and they both ruptured 2 different times within about a week period. The first time, the first one in my abdomen that ruptured, it actually killed me. I saw God. I saw the light and I heard God. I was in the ER. I was in the waiting room. I kept telling people, there's something wrong. But as a pregnant and fertile veteran, you kind of get thrown into a category of, she's crazy or she's paranoid. So they kept pushing me off, like, go wait, go wait. And I said, no, ma'am, like, I think I'm dying. And then I pretty much collapsed, seized,
Oh my gosh.
was rushed into the trauma bay, and they were ripping my clothes off, getting ready to do what they do. And for me, I saw the light, and God told me, I heard his voice. He said, I'm always with you, but I'm not ready for you. And then my dad, who passed when I was 7 from cancer, was to my right. And as a little girl, he was always sick, so I never really saw him healthy. And
Yeah.
he was glowing and he was healthy, hair. He was always bald. My memory, he's bald and sick and in the hospital. His hair was, flowing, and he had a little baby in his hand in a blue blanket, and he walked out of the trauma bay. And that's when I woke up. And, I'm surrounded by doctors and nurses and machines, and, no clothes, and they're ripping me apart, trying to figure out what's going on. And they scan me, and that's when they tell me that I lost my baby. It ruptured, and they had to rush me into emergency surgery after that. And then I didn't know I was pregnant with triplets at the time. I thought it was just one because there, so much going on. And then a couple of days later, I was back in the ER, and they told me I was still pregnant.
Oh wow.
I'm like, okay. And then a couple of days after that, everything just repeated. I was in and out of the hospital, and the twins ruptured in my fallopian tube, and I was internally bleeding on that one and was rushed into surgery, and they took my tube and everything after that. And I recovered, and then I was diagnosed with epilepsy from like the lack of oxygen and hitting my head when I died and being put under 2 emergency surgeries. They never got a chance to scan my brain. So I was having about 30 seizures a day, unmedicated. After that, for about 6 months to a year, it took to get on the proper medication. That's when I changed my diet, started eliminating caffeine, things I needed to do anyways, but the seizures was definitely God, getting me where I needed to be. My mom and dad had to move down. My stepdad had to move down here to be with me because I was alone pretty much during all this time. And so I was just trying to get healthy enough to get, back to my fertility journey for the past 3 years. And when I started my IUI, I knew that my egg count was already low at that point. I was 27, and they said, if you want to have babies, you need to have them by the time you're 30. So after my ectopic pregnancies, it was about a 3-year gap it took me to get back on my feet. I had another surgery a year after the ruptured ectopics, where they went in to clean up like everything for the endometriosis and my fallopian tube. And they actually ended up cutting my bowel open, trying to remove endometriosis off my bowels. And I almost died during that surgery. I almost went septic, was in the hospital, had an ileus, my bowel stopped working. Then they gave me the wrong medication in my hand, and my hand blew up. I almost lost my hand. They said, it's up to God. There's nothing we can do because they administered it wrong. Just pray that you don't lose it. It can go 50-50. Wow. So it was 3 years of, epilepsy and endometriosis, and then these medical malpractice things going on. So this year I was finally healthy enough to get back to the fertility doctor. And that's when he gave me the news that, you have no eggs. It's now or never. We don't even know if we can get anything from you. Basically, you might have to use an egg donor, is what I was put into the situation with. And then at the time, my ex was not ready for kids. So he suggested I use a sperm donor, and I ended that relationship at that point and went our separate ways. And I chose to become a single mom by choice. So I had about 24 hours to make this decision of which way I wanted to go in life. And I want to be a mom, and I'm going to do everything I can to be a mom. So I chose that route. And this summer, I did 2 cycles of IVF by myself in New Orleans, which is about 3 hours from me. And it was actually great. I got 2 embryos at the end of each cycle, so 4 embryos total. And then this November, I scheduled my embryo transfer for my first embryo. And I actually met my boyfriend 2 weeks before I was to get pregnant. And it was crazy because I was like, how do I tell him? We talked for hours. We talked about God. And I'm like, this is the man I've been praying for. Like, how do I break the news that I'm going to be pregnant with a complete stranger's baby, and doing this by myself? But at the end of our conversation, I just kind of told him I'm going to be pregnant with a stranger's baby in 2 weeks. And I was really expecting him just hang up the phone, be like, I'm sorry. I don't want this, I don't want kids. I don't want to do this. But he was just, I kind of told him my fertility journey, how I saw God, and this is, my calling. And he was just like, I think you're beautiful. I think what you're doing is beautiful. And I want to love and support you through this. And pretty much since that day, he took me to all my doctor's appointments for my transfer. He learned how to give injections, never gave a shot before in his life. Was getting me, making me meals, fertility meals and embryo transfer meals, the pineapple and all the pomegranate, everything they tell you, buying me warm socks. He went to my transfer with me, held my hand. Unfortunately, the embryo failed and I lost the pregnancy, and, he was there through all that. And I took it hard, a lot harder than I thought. So and that was around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And those are just hard holidays for veterans. Anyways, you have a lot of guilt and remorse that you made it back and, others didn't. So just losing the baby, that it was hard, but it was a blessing. He was sent, he's been by my side ever since. And now we're starting to kind of throw out the idea of doing, IVF together and doing this together. And maybe I won't be a single mom by choice by the way it's going. So yeah, it's been quite a journey since the beginning of all this.
I really hope you enjoyed the first part of this podcast. If you'd like to listen to the rest, please visit thejoyofsunflowers.com. Please note that all speakers, including experts and professionals, express information, views, and opinions that should not be used to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical conditions. If you have a medical issue, please consult a qualified professional. Speakers voice their own views, opinions, and conclusions, and they may not reflect the views, opinions, and conclusions of other speakers. Ella Rose, The Joy of Sunflowers, and its sponsors may not endorse all or any of the views, opinions, or conclusions expressed.